There's some discussion on a message board here on the mountain this morning about how to make southern biscuits and gravy. Unfortunately, I didn't film. I've already made my biscuits. That's before they go in the oven. As you can see, they're kind of fractured and broken a little bit. That's all good, because what we want when they come out of the oven is for them to be flaky and fall apart to go with our gravy that we're making. So what we're doing here is we're melting maybe a tablespoon and a half, maybe 2 tablespoons butter here for our gravy. We're going to add 2 tablespoons of Wondra Flour, Wondra, to the gravy, to the butter. Now we want the flame to be, about like that. I don't want to scald the milk when I put it in. So now what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and add our 2 tablespoons of Wondra Flour to our melted butter here. There's 1, and there's 2 with a little extra for good measure. Now what we're going to do is we're going to mix this butter in with the flour. See how that's, now it's kind of a paste situation going on there. Right, that's our butter with our flour melted in. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and should measure this milk out, but I know what the right amount is, so I'm not going to measure it today. But we're going to pour in a little bit of milk, and you can hear it scalding a little bit, so we take the pot off the flame, and as you can see, I'm getting it all mixed down and consistent there. And you're going to add a little bit of milk at a time until we get a good liquidy consistency. The reason we have to do it like this is because if we don't take a lot of care to mix this up real good, you have lumps of flour in your gravy, and we kind of want a smooth, thick consistency for our white gravy. Now I'm just going to stir this for a couple of minutes, and as you can see, that you have to constantly stir this the whole time that you are making white gravy, pretty much until you get all of your milk in. You have to constantly stir. I'm going to take these biscuits. These are our biscuits that I showed you earlier. I'm going to go ahead and shove them in the oven while we're making our gravy, so that at the time that the biscuits get done, we'll have our gravy be done at the same time, so everything will be hot together. We got baking on 425 up here. 425 for your biscuits. And since we're at elevation, we're going to set it for 12 minutes, the timer. But usually it takes a little bit longer since we're at 5,000 feet elevation. And then I'm going to go ahead and add a little more milk at this point. And you got to add just a little bit of milk at a time until you get to the amount of milk that you're supposed to add. And they say you're supposed to add a cup of milk for every 2 tablespoons of your Wondra Flour. I like to do it a little more. I like to do maybe 2.5 tablespoons to a cup. And that way your sauce will thicken up a little quicker, won't take as long, doesn't require sitting here stirring for 20 minutes to get consistency. So sometimes you increase your flour, cut down on the milk, and you get a better sauce. It makes it a little quicker. And as you can see, we're still got our low flame going here. It's low flame, but this is gradually getting warmer, this mixture here. We don't want it to boil. You put your flame up too hot, your milk will boil, and that wouldn't be good because you scald your milk. So we're going to go ahead, add a little more milk to this gravy. You might turn the flame up just a tad. Keep it warmer. And just sit here and stir. This is the main thing about making white sauce. You have to constantly attend to it, and you have to constantly stir it if you want the right consistency out of your gravy. As you can see, I'm still stirring. Got a little bit of lumps in there, but not many. And you don't have to use a spoon. A lot of people like to use what we call a whisk. Well, mine's not in here today. Here it is. You use a whisk. That might help you out a little bit. 6 of one, half dozen the other, whatever your preference is, you can use that. Now, as you can see here, it's nice and smooth. There's a few lumps in there, but not many. And that's kind of the situation we're looking for with this gravy. We try to maintain this consistency throughout the whole process. Okay, as you can see, we've added pretty much, at this point, all of our milk to this situation. I want to point out one thing about milk, too. As you can see, this is the full fat milk. It's not 2%, it's not 1%, it's the full fat milk. You have to use vitamin B milk to get the right consistency when you're cooking anything with milk. I don't recommend anything else except for whole milk and real butter, which is what I used in this recipe. Now at this point, when you got your consistency down to the way you want it, you can pretty much just make sure your flame is down to simmer and then let it sit. That beep means that our our biscuits are ready in the oven. Now I'm going to turn this down to low and let it sit just for a few minutes and thicken up, because our consistency is okay. It's not going to lump up at this point. Now let's check our biscuits here in the oven. These are our beautiful handmade southern biscuits here, and we're going to pull them out and make sure that the bottom of our biscuits, they could use a couple of more minutes. It's just now browning. We're going to stick it back in. I assume that's due to our high elevation. I had stuck it on for 12 minutes at 425. We're going to stick it on a couple more minutes. I'm going to go ahead and do that now. And at the end of that 2 minutes time, our biscuits should be done. Now, I didn't add any salt and pepper, and you didn't see me do that, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now, because you're not going to like the sauce as much if we don't add a little bit of salt and pepper. And you can see I didn't measure this out. I pretty much know how much you're supposed to add just over the years of doing this. It's probably in the order of a half teaspoon to maybe a teaspoon of salt, and a few beats of the pepper package into the sauce as well to get a good salt and pepper flavoring to our gravy. But this is how you make your gravy. This white sauce can be used in a lot of things, not just biscuits and gravy. I use it myself when I make homemade macaroni and cheese. As the base, you would just go ahead and make your white sauce like this, and once it thickens up, you'd add cheese to the white sauce, and then pour that in with your cooked noodles and bake that in the oven to make your macaroni and cheese. There's lots of other things that the white sauce is good for, but today we're going to enjoy ourselves a nice southern breakfast. Now we're going to go ahead and take the biscuits out. We got 3 seconds on the timer. I'm going to go ahead and remove those out. Let's go ahead and show you the consistency of those now, because now they're at the perfect. As you can see, they're just browning on the top, which is what we want, and the underside is still that golden brown. And we can be assured now that the insides of these aren't doughy and that they're cooked. So we're going to go ahead and remove those from the oven. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and turn off our gravy. We're going to stir it another couple of times, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like in a bowl as we enjoy our breakfast here on the mountain, the Crestline. You take one of these biscuits. This is the southern way. You just use your hands, and if you can stand the heat, get in the kitchen. But it's pretty hot when you try to do that with your hands. Maybe you want to use a fork, probably better. But I just do it with my hands, crumble it up. As you can see, my biscuits, because I didn't play with my dough too long, when I put them together, the biscuits just fall apart. They're nice and flaky. And then I go ahead and add some of my gravy. And this is almost the perfect consistency of gravy. You see how thick that is? It's kind of thick, but kind of runny at the same time. That's kind of what we want. So we'll go ahead and pour some of that over our gravy, over our biscuits. Oh yeah, get you a nice good amount on there for 2 biscuits. About half of that is good for 2 biscuits. And then mix it together, and then enjoy. So good.